Hey guys, Trent here with SonarPros. Got a real quick install video for you with one of our favorite products, and that is a Powerhouse Lithium Battery Tray. Whether you're running lithium, lead batteries, AGM batteries, these are the best trays we have found. Mainly because the biggest problem in the industry we see is plastic trays, the backs blow out, or trays don't have proper support when it comes to a strap or a rubber mat. So these trays are really simple to install. We're gonna do a real quick overview. What's gonna come out of the box is the tray itself, rubber mat that goes in the bottom of the tray to essentially cushion that battery, your ratchet strap, and 6 Torx T20 screws. Now, as far as tools, it's a pretty straightforward install. I normally recommend an impact driver with your Torx T20 bit, and then some sort of drill. Here we've got a 90-degree drill with a 9/64 drill bit for pre-piloting those holes. So really important that you pre-drill the holes and don't try to just zip those screws in, because it will cause cracking or even broken screws. So first thing we're gonna do is head to the back of this boat and kick off the install process, which is getting our trays laid out. All right, the first step in installing your battery tray, and hopefully you've got trays for all the batteries in your boat, is go ahead and get a layout of where you think everything's gonna be. What is really important that we've learned is when you're starting to figure out the layout of the batteries, make sure you have things like your spare prop in the boat, your charger, because those things do consume space in the battery box. And we wanna make sure that our battery trays aren't gonna alter or get in the way of those items. So in the back of this boat, I've got my spare prop, I've got a Powerhouse 3-bank charger mounted, and I'm starting to kind of lay out where I think everything is gonna be. So it's really simple. You just place your trays down roughly where you want them to go. And what's really important that I find is I like all of my trays, for the most part, now this might vary on boat to boat, I want my trays north to south or bow to stern. There are some boats like Rangers where those batteries are essentially going to be mounted east to west versus north to south. So definitely recommend laying all your trays out like we have here. I've got really good spacing going across, and also be considering what batteries you're running as far as weight. You know, you might want a little bit more weight towards the passenger side than the driver's side, just depending on what boat you have. But on this boat, we're going to go 2 and 3 battery layout, which is kind of a traditional bass boat layout for the most part. Running 5 batteries in this boat. Most boats will probably be in that 4 battery mark. So this is a little bit tighter for space, but you can see we get a nice even spacing. All our batteries are nice and symmetrical as far as the battery trays are concerned. And then once you find exactly where you want everything to be, it's then time to start drilling holes and get these things mounted. Now, we've got a couple of these trays pre-mounted, but what I like to do, again, one last double check. I'm gonna make sure all my battery trays are nice and symmetrical where I want them, and then start on one side of the boat and work to the other side. It's kind of a domino effect when it comes to putting battery trays in. So first thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna get this tray positioned about where I want it. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our drill. Now you can either run a 9/64 or an 1/8. I will say with older boats like this, start a little smaller. The fiberglass is not as thick as newer boats. So in this case, for this boat, we're gonna go with an 1/8. Normally would recommend a 9/64. So as far as which holes to drill first, again, we're just gonna do one last check. Make sure we got nice spacing between the trays for the straps to come out. Everything looks nice and parallel. You always want your battery box to look clean. What I like to do is I normally like to go ahead and drill and start with these 2 middle holes in the tray. What I like to start out with is this middle right mounting hole. Reason being is once I get my screw in there, it kind of acts as a pivot point to make sure I have everything aligned properly. So we're gonna go ahead. Again, this is an older boat, so an 1/8 inch drill bit. We're gonna go ahead and drill this pilot hole out. Like so. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and grab one of our Torx T20 mounting screws that are included with the battery tray kit. Get her popped in there. And then I'm going to grab my impact driver with the Torx T20 bit, and we're going to center that screw down. Now, again, now that I have this one screw in, I can use this kind of as my pivot point, as you can see. So I want to make sure I got even spacing from my other tray next to this battery tray. And then we're going to move over here and zip in this left center hole. Again, going to drill it out with our pilot. Like so. Grab our impact driver. Like so. Now, really simple, rinse and repeat. So we're gonna go with our top 2 screws and our bottom 2 screws. You can go diagonal pattern. If any of my mechanic guys know about head studs, you can kind of go with a diagonal approach, which is probably what I'm gonna do here. So we're gonna go ahead and zip the rest of these in. All right, now that we've got all of our screws mounted, before we put our rubber mat in, we're going to want to go ahead and vacuum up our fiberglass there. All right, next step, pretty self-explanatory. We're going to get our rubber mat in. Now, it's pretty important to get this as center as you can. You'll notice there's a little overlap on each side, and that is because when this battery seats in, it's going to pull that mat like that and be nice and even. So get it centered in your tray. You're going to have a little overlap, is perfectly fine. Next, we've got our ratchet strap. What I like to do is the buckle itself, if you fold it over, I like to have the back pointed up, and then I'm going to grab the long end of the strap from there. So we've got the top of our buckle facing up, keeping our strap nice and straight. And we're going to feed it in from the right side to the left side all the way across. Get our strap centered up, and then you're going to grab this loop right here in the middle and lay it over the back of the tray. Like so. Now your battery tray is mounted. You're ready to go ahead and plop in that battery and set up that ratchet strap. Per the way Powerhouse recommends that strap, it does not go underneath the tray. It goes over the top of the battery, which we will show you guys over here on the other side of the boat. So that's a Powerhouse lithium tray mounted. Now we're going to go to how to actually put that battery in a tray so it's easy for you guys to see, because we see a lot of mistakes with how that strap is installed. All right, so this is a real good example of how to utilize the strap system for the Powerhouse trays. Now, the mistake a lot of people make is they'll just run this strap underneath the battery like this and then run the strap over. The problem with that is as you tighten that ratchet strap, it's gonna lift up on the bottom of the battery and essentially compress it, which will lead to seals going bad in the cases. It could crack the case. So it's very important when it comes to Powerhouse lithium trays that you follow this process. So what I have found to be the easiest, and while this battery tray is in the boat, is I'll go ahead and I'll run my strap through with the buckle facing up, with the back facing up. I'm then going to grab a middle section here, and I'm going to kind of just fold it over the back of the tray like so. Then it's really simple. You plop your battery tray, you get ready to plop your battery in, making sure your rubber mat is centered. We're going to plop this guy in like so. You can see our rubber mat compressed on both sides. And then this loop right here, you're just going to pull it up over the tray, pull those tight. And now you can start centering your strap on up. And what I like to do is just pull that ratchet where it's kind of going to lay over dead center. Give her a couple of clicks, not too tight, and you can see that thing is perfectly centered in that tray with the rubber mat. Our strap is double looped over here, double looped. So it's got 2 straps going around that outer mounting cut through, and then it's coming over the top of the battery. So that strap is pushing that battery down into that rubber mat versus the other way that we see a lot of people do. That strap is lifting and compressing the battery. So really important These are awesome trays, but definitely make sure that you're installing the battery strap properly. And when that tray is mounted and that strap is done properly per our directions, this thing will not move and your battery will have a nice, healthy life. Biggest thing we see, whether it's lead batteries, AGMs, or lithiums, is the biggest mistake people make is using cheap trays or using trays improperly. The battery tray is just as important as the battery. It's a whole ecosystem. So to make sure your batteries hold up, check out these Powerhouse lithium trays. You can get them on the Powerhouse website or our website. We use them for literally every install. We've been using them for years, never had a problem with them. I highly recommend them. So y'all go check them out.